Yes, yes.
Welcome in, everybody.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into our podcast, Just Like Us. I'm your host, Justin Bird, and this is my lovely co-host, Letty Zito.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in.
Welcome in. So today is a special episode that we're going to be talking about fatherhood, building a legacy.
Mhm.
This is a topic that I enjoy talking about because it's very special to me. Um, Creating a legacy of love. You know, fatherhood is one of the best gifts that we can give our children. Being present and being there,
Yeah.
it really shows these kids
Mhm.
that they're here, that there's someone, that they're loved, that they're cared for. So being present is super important, I feel. I see it every day in my son Justin Jr.'s eyes. When I pull up and I walk through the front door, he drops what he's doing and he runs up to me. He's Daddy, and he gives me this big old hug.
Yeah.
And I so enjoy that. You know, I was telling Letty today. Earlier, we were sitting on the couch before I left for work, and I had said, you know, I love that so much, having this little boy look up to me and enjoy having me around.
Yeah.
And it feels so wonderful to have that love. You can just see him light up, you know. So I want to hold on to that for as long as I can
Mm.
and embrace that. And I think it's important because, you know, some kids grow up and they don't even have dads. You know, unfortunately, you know, some kids grow up with no dads at all. I was fortunate enough to have two dads. I had a father and a stepdad, and I got to see some pretty cool things. You know, my dad Raymond, he taught me a lot about respect. You know, sit up straight, chew with your mouth closed, don't spit in front of women. You know, and he never hit us. He didn't have to teach us by you know, spanking us or smacking us upside the head. He had his own ways of doing things. He scratched my back. You know, he had to scratch his head sometimes. And some of the people who I grew up with, I know you guys remember this stuff. And so he didn't hit us, but he would punish us, rub my feet. he tore us up sometimes, you know what I mean? But it was his way of training and showing us how things worked. But I liked his morals. You know, he had some really great morals, and he was a good person. And actually, the last time I actually spoke to him was on a bad note, and he left this place with him and I in an argument. And for anybody who's watching, if you have any amends to make, like, it's 2025, let's make those amends right now. Like, don't wait. You know, you never know. This could be our last day here. But you know, it was on a bad note, and I never got to speak to him again. But what I wouldn't give to be able to give him one of them big old, he said, one around the neck, because he was big. He was a big guy, and he taught me so many things. But his love for us was like, he was a big bear. You know, again, he didn't have to swat us or hit us ever to get us to learn things. He taught us things, and it really ingrained in me what I want to show my son. You know, how I can teach him and show him, and so that he can absorb what I'm taking in, because these kids are like sponges, you know. So being present is such a big deal with these kids, because when I can see it with Justin, when, you know, sometimes if I'm doing something like working on the computer, something, he's like, you know, dad kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's so important to just stop. Sometimes just stop and just give him some time. And it's not that much, you guys. You know, we may be in the middle of something super important, but if it comes down to us being on our bed, and like, what's the one thing we're gonna want is love. One thing we're gonna want is people around us. You know, if we're sick in bed, you know, I don't want to look back and say I wish I would have spent more time with him. So I do. I stop what I'm doing, and it's not all the time, but a majority of the time, I will stop what I'm doing and go give him some time. You know, it means the world to these kids, and I could see them light up when it's like, you know, when he's just showing me something, and I'm just not like, okay, I stop what I'm doing, I get down on his level, like, what's up, dude? What's going on? Let's check it out, and I cheer him on. You know, I think it's very important. I can see it in him. He lights up and he loves it. So, and he's like my biggest fan, and I love that. Like, this kid, he knows my phone number by heart, so he'll call me at work, and like, there's times where we'll just sit on the phone, like literally, this kid was 3 years old when you know, I taught him my phone number. You call me anytime. So he called me, 3 years old, and we would just sit on the phone. I'd be at work and I'd have him on speakerphone, but I would just sit on the phone with him for for hours, like literally like 4 or 5 hours until the house phone died. And we would just sit on the phone. And I think that's so comforting to him. I think that he feels, security with those kind of things. And, I don't think it's a big deal for me to do that. I think it's something that's within reach. I can do that. So I do. I make sure I spend the time with him. And it's super impactful. You could see it. This kid, he's bright, he's bubbly, he's got a lot of energy, he's spunky, and he's got so much value to give. Like other kids see him, and they gravitate toward him. And I think it's important, giving him confidence and things. It starts from the parents, I feel, and so it's a big deal. For fathers, being present is such a huge deal, So again, if you have any amends to make, I think now's the time. Why wait? These kids, they need us, and so do our parents. Their parents don't want another love too. So, shout out to all the fathers out there. Love you guys.
Thanks, dads.
Yes.
And if I could just, interject a little bit here.
Of course.
Like, I'm not a father, but, I was fortunate enough to have 3 of them, 3 stepdads who, they each taught me, something. I didn't get to meet my biological father. I found out about him, about 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
But for me, fatherly love, it's so important. I think that, for a lot of us, for myself, I had a hard time trusting God because I didn't have, what I see Justin and Justin have, the way that he is with him, whether Justin knows it or not. He's fathered me in a lot of ways by the way that he fathers that little boy. Like, I've learned things about myself and how to love and care for myself, and how to allow God to love and care for me by the way that I've watched them interact with each other, right? There's nothing like a father's love. And there's been times where I've felt like, God, did I miss out? But, we can experience God's love that way too, and so I just, I thank you, for modeling that, right? Because that is missing out there today. And I know a lot of people would agree with me on that. So, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, babe. No, that's wonderful. I feel honored to have somebody even say something like that, I personally feel that I'm a great father, and I do because I see how the father that I was before is not the father I am today. And I'm just going to be a bit vulnerable that I have 2 older daughters, and I wasn't always present for their life. And for whatever the cause or reason or my excuse may be, it's unfortunate because it impacts them to this day still. I talked with them today. I talked with them, I'm in their lives. But there was a good portion of their lives that I wasn't. But I'm not going to let this opportunity for being a father now slip through my fingers. So I'm gonna take it grab life by, I'm gonna do what I can to be in these kids' life. And Justin I could see that he lights up whenever I'm around, and I love that, and I'm gonna cherish that and hold on to it. And every minute that we're with these kids, it adds up. Can you guys just imagine if our parents were able to be present and raise us, growing up? Most of us, we grew up with parents who probably had jobs, and we were at school, and a lot of us came home and our parents weren't there, for a good amount of the day. But, just imagine if our parents were able to be present with us throughout the day. How much more impactful would that have been for us, powerful for us to be able to thrive and to learn more about ourselves. I think that would have helped immensely with a lot of the things that I went through as a child. But again, I'm not going to let anything hold me back or keep me from doing good by my kids now. So, I love who I am, and I think that's important for me as a father to know my role as a parent is just beginning. It is, and I'm here till I'm not. And I'm gonna do everything I can to show these children that they're loved and raise them and spark that interest in life and just let them know, hey, I'm here. I think that's the first step that we could do as parents, is just really let them kids know that we're here for them. I'm here. I see you. You are here. I see you. I think it's a big deal. So
it is.
Yeah. So on that, do you have anything to add?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not a father, but I have had fathers, in my life. I've had, you know, men in my life who've taught me a lot, and I always focused on, oh my God, I didn't know, my real dad. I didn't know this, I didn't know that. But, as I've looked back, I'm grateful because, like you said, right, some people don't have a dad at all.
Right.
And we've been fortunate enough to have more than one, right? And so I don't really have anything else to add to that, but I think our actions, right, they shape what our kids their future, like
Right. Yeah.
what they it helps shape what they become, right? And so I think it's so important, with you as his role model, right? um God, I don't even, honestly, guys, I know this is live and
It's all
I'm
right.
not even really sure what to say,
It's
right?
fine, babe. I think it's good because
Yeah.
from a mother's point of view, like I
Mm,
have learned so many things from you.
mm,
Just the simple. There's one time when we were walking and Justin wanted to walk
mm.
on this wall, and I was like, no, come on, come on. And then he's like, sometimes you just gotta let him be a kid. And I found that to
That's
be
what it
super
was.
important
Yeah.
because since that day, Justin was like 2 years old. He was just a little infant, little
Yeah.
toddler, and ever since
Mm,
then I have picked that up and I've adopted that into how I go about you know teaching him things and saying, hey, you know
yeah.
what, sometimes you just got to let him be and let him explore and learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually in the next segue of that, it's really important to be a role model. I think becoming a
Mm,
role model to these kids is super important as well, you guys. It really is.
mm,
And in my case, I want to break generational curses and cycles, and it really starts with commitment and change. I feel it's important to show them, what it is that I would like
mm,
to be. I'm confident in what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I think it's important for me to pave the way. And so
mm,
Justin sees us in here working away, and I explain to him. I say, this is what I'm doing to better our lives, so that hopefully I can be home more, so I can be home more with you guys,
mm,
and kind of set the tone for him to know, like,
mm.
we don't
Yeah.
always have to go, the typical route. We don't always have to be like everyone else. We can pave our own way. I like to think that I
Mm,
am a trendsetter. I
yeah.
set trends myself, and I enjoy who I am. I
Mm,
dress like this because I want to. I dress
mm,
and look nice because it feels good to me, and that's what I like, and I get compliments, so I
mm,
continue doing it. Again, breaking these generational cycles it really starts with just commitment to change, in my opinion. And you got to
mm,
teach your kids resilience. You got to teach them to be, the kindness
mm.
and the value of hard work, and through your actions. It really matters. People are going to see that. People are going to sense that
Yeah.
you're a good person through what you do. So it's important to become a role model and set the tone for these kids, so they know
Mm,
exactly what's to come from you. I mean, having that consistency, I think, is key, you guys,
mm,
because I mean, my son
mm.
knows what to expect. He's seen me, before, be upset, and he's just not really used to me being sad or
Right.
down and out.
Yeah.
There's been times where, I had a little stint where I wasn't feeling that great, and I was like detoxing from like alcohol and things, and I was like, was like in my room, and I wasn't feeling that great.
Mm,
And he wasn't used to that. Justin wasn't used to me being like that. He's used to me being up and bubbly and happy. But it's okay. I explained to him, hey, I'm just kind of going through some things right now. I'm not always in a happy mood, and I think that's good to show him, hey, I'm human. We're human.
yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, roses
Yeah.
and things. But it's also something that I have seen with him, that I wake up in a good mood every day, and I see that he does the same as I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whether he does it intentionally or if it's something, I
Mm,
just know that he sees me wake up, and the first thing I ask him when I see him, the very first thing is, did you sleep good? And that's just kind of
yeah.
what I do.
Yeah.
And so it's routine, it's consistency,
Mm,
and I give him a big old hug and a kiss, and he knows that I'm excited to be alive. He knows that I'm excited that I woke up that morning. So
exactly.
being a role model it could be the simple things, but I think being a
Mm,
beacon and guiding to the way as a light for him is important. He sees me on a daily basis.
mm.
This little boy sees me on a daily basis tell about 100 people I love. If we go out in public, like
Yeah.
I tell everybody I love, and I mean it.
Yeah.
I 100% mean
Yeah.
that I love people. And the other day, Justin had said, "Did you just tell him you love him?" I said, "Yeah."
Yep.
Yeah. Is that new? Did you not like know that? And he's like, it was so funny because he seemed to be shocked, but I do that everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's got a different personality. He's not so, open, and I think it's cool to see that because
Yeah.
he's his own, he's in his own world, and
Right.
I think we allow for him to explore
Mm.
in his own, use his own filters, his own senses, however he
Yeah.
feels need,
Yeah.
however he wants to. And I think it's important to, just to let him explore and be himself.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, to your point, when you I know I remember the first time I heard you like tell, strangers I love you, I was like, what? You
That's
love
what I
them?
do. And if you know me, you know
What
that's what I
about
do.
me?
That's
No.
exactly what I do to everybody.
Because I had a different, I had a different perception of what love was, right? There was family love. You had love for your husband, or your girlfriend, or, um, your friends, but to like tell strangers that, like, that just seemed like that should be something special, like just
Right.
for me. Like, that's how I perceive love. But,
Right.
as I started to, watch people respond or not respond, right,
Yeah.
to you saying you love them, like, that just reminded me of like that unconditional love that we all want, right? And some people were like, ugh,
Still, yeah, some people don't
you're
know what to
saying I
say.
love, and some people say it back, and I have found myself, I had started to say that, around the time we met, and I thought, let me just try it. How does this work? Let's see what people do. And, and it's developed into a genuine love, right, for people. And into a genuine love for myself, and into a genuine love for life, right? And so I just want to thank you for that. Like, that really impacted me. It really did. And it reminded me of the Father's love, right, for us.
Right.
Sometimes we don't always feel it. So it's interesting to watch people respond, when you say I love you to them, whether they believe it for themselves or not, right? Because it really it starts with us, even as parents. Like, we have to, we not have to, but we get to show ourselves that, right?
Yeah.
And whether we are showing it to ourselves or not, because we're parents, fathers and mothers, right? We want to show that to our kids, and sometimes it can be a struggle when we're not even feeling it for ourselves, right? So we show it in other ways by, providing, their daily needs, and parenting is more than just that, right? It's like what we talked about, being present, being a role model, and how our actions not only affect us but affect them.
Right. Yeah.
I
mean, how would you guys feel if somebody just came up to you and said, "I love you"? Out of nowhere? You're at a gas station, you're at a grocery store, somebody just, they just tell you they love you. And I think just in seeing this, it shows him that love is more than okay. In abundance. I'm so okay with telling people I love them. Anybody who knows me knows that's what I do. And I do, and I'm okay with that, because I don't think there's enough of it in this world. And this little boy gets to see firsthand that, look, I'm tough as nails. I'm a tough guy, but I am also the biggest bear. I'm super sensitive. I love people. I enjoy being around people, and I think that's going to impact him, and I can see it. And I love that about me. I love that's what I do. I love that's what I say. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, the one thing I love about you is, how open you are about being, sensitive about things. And I think that's cool. So, setting the tone, letting this kid see that no matter what, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel however you feel, because whatever you, and I've taught them this to Justin, like, no matter how you're feeling, that's your feelings. It's never going to be wrong. No matter what happens, those are always your feelings. Right. Embrace it. And I said, you know what embrace means? No. So I tell him, when I say words to him, and I think about it right after I say it, and so I make sure that I double back and say, do you know what that means? And often he says no, and so I'll break it down. I'll say, this is what it means, and I'll teach him. And so he picks up real fast on these things. And I think actually taking the time, I spend a lot of time with this kid. I spend a lot of time with this little boy. And for anybody who's ever been with us and present with us at the same time, like, you can see the love. You can see it's unlike anything else. Like, it's magical. I'm gonna tell you guys something. He told me this the other night. we laid down, and he said, Dad, I can read people's minds. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you this. We were laying in the guest bed, and my mom's bed that she passed away on is right there next to us. And it's like, it's literally leaning up against the bed that we're on. And he laid, and his body must have touched this bed that my mom, you know, laid on when she was here at the house. And so he says, Dad, I can read people's minds. And I said, he's like, you're thinking about Granny right now. And I'm like, and it made me, because at literally, this is honestly God truth. I was thinking, I wonder if Justin could feel what I'm thinking. And he said this, and it blew me away. That's the honestly God truth that really happened. I laid down next to him and I thought about my mom. I'm like, I wonder if Justin could hear or feel what I'm thinking. And he said, Dad, I could read people's minds. And remember, we came in the room and we told Letty about it. And I was like, I turned the light on. I was like, how did you do this? I said, because I told him, I said, remember when I told you at some point me and you're going to be so close and so tight that we're going to be able to talk to each other without using our voices. And I explained to him, I said, me and you are going to be so tight. We're already so in tune with each other that there's going to be a point where we talk to each other without using our voice. And I meant that. And I do. I think that this is, and that was the start of it, you guys. And this isn't something that's impossible. Like, I'm manifesting it. This is real talk here. Like, this little boy told me this, and I'm like, that was the start of it. That was the start of us. And showing him, like, we're bonded. We are bonded. We are in this together, bro. Like, you're from my loins, and this is something that I'm not just saying this to say it. We're going to be able to speak to each other without using our voice, and it just blew me away.
But I think that just speaks to the bond of, you know, that we have with each other, whether we're father, mother, or we're the kids, right? We're all connected. We are all connected, and we feel, you know, what each other is going through, you know. And sometimes you know, it's difficult to I lost my train of thought.
It's difficult to
happens. I don't know. It's difficult to do a lot of things sometimes, but you got to do them.
But it feels good to have him be so tight with me that we don't really like it. It's starting, and he's 6 years old, and I feel like, you know, our relationship is only going to continue to grow stronger and stronger. Because again, when he calls me, I remember this message. He called me and he said, hey, Dad, I just wanted to call to ask you when you're going to be home. I just miss you so much, and I want to spend some time with you. And I played this thing over a couple times a month, and it's so cute. And those are the things I just don't want to let go. I don't want to let go of, you know, I kiss him on the lips, and I do this thing, go, I do this kiss just to be goofy, right? And he tells me, he says, we went to school one day. I took him to school in kindergarten over here, and he said, Dad, could you not do that in front of the school with the kids? And that's when I realized, like, there's going to be a point where he's not going to want to give me kisses anymore, you know. And I know as a male, you know, I kissed my dad on his lips until he passed, and that's just how it was, because I didn't mind. I'm a different breed. Like, I didn't mind. You know what I mean? And I that day it was just, I was like, oh man, there's going to be a day where, and it really had me thinking about all the things that I would cherish if I didn't have him around, or when he grows up. I don't want to lose that spark that we have. I don't want him to, you know, I don't want him to go away. But it's gonna come at some point. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna grow up. He's not gonna call me daddy. He's just gonna call me dad. And so I'm cherishing these moments right now, making sure that I am a role model to him, setting the tone for, you know, I don't want to be someone who's a hypocrite to him. I don't want to tell him to do something. And then, so I literally this past year quit drinking, quit drugs, quit vaping, quit caffeine, all these things that are potentially, because I want to set the tone for him. I want him to see that my dad's a leader. My dad's for real, like, and I want to be here for him and my other two kids as well. I want to be here for myself, for my lady. I want to be here for all the other people I'm here to impact, because I am here to make an impact, you guys, and I will leave a mark in the best way possible. I am here to make an impact on my friends, my family, the people I haven't met yet, but I have a lot of energy, a lot of great things. And I think being a father is one of the best things that God has ever given me, the ability to be an impactful parents to the ones who are here with me. And this little boy, he's I love him so much. And when he was born, I started college. I got a robotics degree. You know, there's so many things in my life that changed instantly, and you know, not saying this is a, I haven't been back to jail since then. I was in and out of jail. I haven't been in any kind of trouble at all. No speeding ticket. I think I maybe one speeding ticket, but really, like it shaped me to be more conscious and aware of. It's not just about me. You know, there's more to it. You know, I have so much to gain. You know, and if I'm not here, there's so much to lose if I'm not. So you know, it's been important to make sure that I'm setting and leading that way and paving that way so that he sees how to be, how you know, I'm training him and raising him, I feel, to be, you know, a great person. So
what would you tell fathers who feel like, man, too much time has passed, I've done too many things to even have a relationship with my kids or with, you know, my father, you know, or what about if they've already passed? How do you make that okay with yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you for that. You know, one thing I want to do is I would like to go to, like, I want to start donating time and giving my time to going into like the prisons and the juveniles and even like the veterans, you know, these, because it would be nice to go in and say, hey, you know, for the prison inmates to say, you know, if you make amends with your parents, if your father, go write them a letter, you know, but there's things behind it that, you know, that could be unsurfaced. Like if I go tell somebody to answer your question, you know, like what would I tell fathers? That it starts from within. Don't wait till the last minute, you know, like have a conscious mind about what would it be like if you didn't have them. I would say it's kind of a somber, or like you know, like it's not always the best thing to think about death, but just think, if this person wasn't here to even argue with or to have a feud with, you know, to say the worst case scenarios, you know, you don't want to have them gone before you say, man, I wish I would have done this. Because even I told you guys how my dad passed away and we left on bad terms. My father, it was the same kind of thing. We hadn't talked in a couple years and we weren't like on the best, you know, terms, but he ended up getting in a car accident head on and passing away. And I remember my mom coming in and telling me about it, and I was just froze, and I didn't cry about it. I just felt like, you know, I don't want to feel any regret. So go and make amends. Why not? What do you have to lose? You know, I know we have our indifferences, and but you don't want to have something happen to where you can't go say goodbye or even say hello. You know, and then that question, it hits home, because I've had that happen twice in my life with both of my dads. I have my dad and my father, and I wasn't able to leave on good terms. And what I wouldn't give to be able to give them big old hugs and a one around the neck and a big old kiss on the lips, you know. My father did his best. You know, I remember the summers going up there with him and him taking us out to do all kinds of crazy cool stuff. And we just didn't, me and him didn't get along that well, but I wish I would have made an effort to go and see him more, because not just for my own, but just simply for the fact that there's so many questions. Like I have his walk, I have my father's talk, I have his voice, like these things that we can't really escape, these things that you can't get away from. You're not going to be able to, you know, you are your father's twin mixed with your mother's twin. And that's just kind of, that's my opinion, is like, you know, you have your fathers, but make amends. You know, don't let it go another day. Today's the day. 2025 is a new year. Let this be a new us. Let's not look back and regret. Let's continue moving forward and being a better us. And by being a better us, sometimes being the bigger person. You know, why not? Why not go make amends and let this be something of the past? If you have issues with your parents or your mother, or your father, go make amends. I had a close friend whose mother passed away the other day, and it just really had me thinking, like, you know, I don't want to look back and wish that I would have done things different, you know? So, you know, being a role model is it's a daily job. It's something that I want to continue striving to show this little boy that you are so important. You're so important to me. I will do anything and everything to make sure that you have the tools necessary to be able to, you know, to get through life, and the smoother the better, you know? So I'm giving him these tools and allowing him to be himself. Sometimes, you know, I have to really, you know, ask myself, am I doing the right thing? Because if he's watching YouTube, or I think there's a lot to learn from these things, but I really think as a parent, I'm doing a phenomenal job. but you know, it's okay to take a step back sometimes. It's all right to take a look at how you're doing things, because checking yourself, you know,
Absolutely.
making sure that you know you're
Absolutely.
aligning with God's, you know, plan and your own, you know, righteous ways of doing things. It's okay to take a step back, you know, because
Yeah.
you know, one of the things about growing up, my mom said a lot was, because I said so. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, that was like the worst thing ever. It was like, it was terrible because I didn't have an understanding of why. You know, it could have been something so simple. It could have been a big deal, but the old because I said so was like, oh my gosh, but why?
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't boy. You know,
But
back
maybe
then was
like they didn't have the words, you know, to explain things, you know, the way that you take the time to explain them to him,
right.
right? I mean, like we said before, right? They just did like the best that we could, and we're also doing the best we can. And when we know better, you know, and when we do better, right? And so, you know, and we don't have to wait for that better to come to us, right? We can, you know, um, research what fatherhood or parenthood is like, you know, for other people, model after someone who's doing it successfully, you know, and incorporate your ideals and your values into your kids too, because I think that connection is, you know, important.
Right.
And you know, I'm just grateful to be a part of seeing you be able to do that. You know, my other kids had a wonderful father too, you know, and I think they're so important, you know, especially all of mine have since passed, right? So just love each other.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
tell each other, you know, you love each other. Because even when I get upset with you, right, I think, ooh, would I miss this? Would I miss those, you know, those times with you? You know, kind of like what your mom said about your father, right?
Right.
Your dad passing away and him snoring all the time, right? She missed that. If she could just hear him snore one more time,
Right.
you know. And
Yeah.
so we, you know, we just thank you for joining us, you know, on this live tonight, and just God bless all of you. You know, we want to see all of you win. We do. We truly, truly do. And for anybody out there who, you know, doesn't know your father, doesn't have a relationship with your dad, you know, start one with the father, you know, and let him father you. And Justin, do you have
Yeah.
anything
That
else?
was great. Yes.
Mm,
You know, I want to leave on this.
mm,
Teaching these kids resilience, I think, is another key factor here as for being a great role model.
mm,
Um, you know, one of the things with Justin is when he falls, I encourage him to, you know, fall with grace, but whatever you do,
mm,
get back
yeah.
up, and then now you know what not to do. You know, this is how you
Mm,
learn. You must fall. You must be able to get
mm,
back up, because that's where it counts, is when you get right back
mm,
up and go at it.
yeah.
That's what's going to make you stronger, because now you know what not to do. You're going to build up that callous, that the ability to fall good and get
Yeah.
up. You know, it may not always be beautiful. It may not, you know, but
Right.
you're going to make it look good, and you're going to get back up. And you're going to do it
Mm,
again, no matter what happens. It don't matter how it comes out. Get back
yeah.
up. If it's the
Love
worst case scenario, you just make sure that you get back up
that. Mm,
and do it again. You know, to be kind. This kid, if I ask him, you know, what's my favorite thing about him, he's gonna say honest. But you know,
yeah.
what is another favorite thing about him is his manners. He'll tell you that. He'll tell you,
Yeah.
what is one of my other favorite things I love about you? His
Mm,
manners. He has good manners, and that's because we've instilled that in him. We let
that's
him know,
right.
like,
Yeah.
this is, you know, please and thank you are necessary. You
Mm,
know, it feels good to have people say please and thank you, excuse me. So he'll say excuse me when he's coming around. I seen this the other day at school. He excused me, and he walked around saying, I loved it. I was like, yes, that's my
yeah.
kid right there.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
You know, makes you feel he's a proud parent, just like any coach would be.
Mm,
You know, you see
yeah.
the student, you know, doing what you told them, taught them to do, and it's like, yeah, that's payoff right there. That's like, yes, it's
Mm,
working. So, you know, being consistent with these
yeah.
kids is so helpful, impactful, and necessary. You know, it's one thing if you're, you know, a biological parent and you're there and but it's another if you're involved and you're with them, taking steps with them and showing them and embracing their falls and letting them get back up. And I think just being present is so important, you know. I mean, it really helps these kids to be seen, to let them know that they're here. You know, they have a voice. I think this kid voiced what he feels and what he, you know, and he's got great respect, and I love that. You know, I feel like this is, if you've seen us, you could see like this little boy is loved, you know, and we're no better, no different than anybody else. I just think I put in that time. Again, I lacked that time with my other two kids, but I'm not going to let that keep me down. I'm not going to let that be something that, you know, keeps me from being a good parent now, you know. And to my two daughters out there, I love you both, Brett and Julia, you know, and cheers to 2025 for being better people all around. And I am a good father, and I am going to be there for the entirety of your guys' life. Julia's graduating high school coming up, and we will be out there. They're out there in Michigan, so we will be out there. So, you know, I love you guys. Brea, you're a huge part of my life, you know, and I love you kids so much. And I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm extremely proud to be your guys' father. Justin Lee, I'm his dad, and I would like to say this: there in my life growing up, there was a difference between a dad and a father. I had a dad, and he's the one who raised me, and I had a father. That was the one who gave me life, and there was a difference. There was a difference. You know, titles mean something. They do to me. It was like I don't call Raymond my father because he wasn't. I call him my dad because he raised me, and I don't call my father dad because he wasn't, in my opinion. He was my father, but either way, you know, I was blessed to have two father figures in my life, and I'm going to give this little boy as much love as I can give him, and in abundance, and let him be himself and show him that your feelings are yours. You know, you be yourself, be courageous, you know, be whatever you're going to be, you know, be happy. And I think I'm doing a very good job at that. You know, this kid, it shows. Like I said, I'm like a happy coach seeing the student do well. And I love the relationship I have with this little boy. And, you know, to each and every one of you guys, I love you. And being a parent isn't easy, but you know, the first step, I guess the most important one in my eyes is showing up, being there, being present, letting them know that, hey, I see you. And, you know, it's important just to be there, in the life. You know, I love when this little boy called me, but thank you guys for being here with us.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you guys. And until the next time, we love you guys. Be kind to one another. Be good to one another. Treat each other as if you're the last person in the world, because you never know, right? So on that note, we love you guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.